E360 TV proudly presents Messages of Inspirational Stories TV show. Live streaming now to millions of devices around the world on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook live streaming. Our shows are available video on demand on these channels. And we broadcast daily, Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on these channels. On Mondays, Expanding Your Business. Tuesdays, Finding Health Naturally. Wednesdays, Mentoring Our Youth. Thursdays, Pets We Love. And on Fridays, Women in Leadership. Brought to you by our producers and hosts, Jim Grant and Donna Guimwa. Along with our host, Beata Severin Reed and Emerson Brantley. Supported by our admin team of Michaela Vidal and Gaia Guimwa Balconi Weda.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Messages of Inspirational Stories. We are so glad you're here today. It's Friday, and we are with Women in Leadership. Jim will be with us here shortly, but we're excited because March is National Women's Day month, right? The whole month. And so today we're going to be diving in and talking about 8 absolute inspiring women who served with us in the service. Some are famous, some aren't. Hi, Jim, and welcome.
Yeah, I had I needed some quarter in this thing. I had to go recharge my drink. My dandelion the regulators, and I make it in that, and then I put it in the refrigerator, and you can take it, flash it in and out.
I don't know if it's you or me, Jim.
I bet it's me, ladies and gentlemen. I've got an issue with my internet connection. The people are coming out next week. Hey, anyway, if I fade out or whatever, just carry on. I mean,
well, you seem to be back now, so I was like, oh, I know that sometimes my internet gets a little squirrely and.
Well, let's see. If I got any tinfoil, I can stick up around me here.
Time, but I know you put on the rabbit ears, right? Goodness.
Here, yeah. So I apologize, folks.
No worries, Jim. So it's awesome because I was just saying that it's National Women's Month, and we're going to be talking about these 8 inspiring women. I think Jim's froze on us a little bit again. Well, we're going to carry on, Jim, and you just jump in when you can.
Let me go in my hand, and I'll do some things here. Okay, let me exit, and I'll come back in.
Okay, so Jim will be right back, folks. But this is exciting because there are when we look this up, of course, we know some of these women, and we know them for things that and maybe some notoriety that they've done in history. But this goes into depth a little bit more about these women. So they're veterans and their stories. So this is who doesn't support the veterans? Of course, Jim is a veteran. I'm the daughter of a longstanding 45-year veteran. So this is really near and dear to our heart. But this is to honor the amazing women who have served and still serve. And we want to highlight a few of the most impactful, famous, and courageous women veterans who served in the military. So women have been serving in the U.S. military since our country declared independence. The women have labored long and hard for the right to be seen as equal within the realm of public service. Their contributions have been critical in the progress and the freedom of our country. In honor of the amazing women who have served and still serve, we're going to talk about these amazing, courageous women who served in the military. So, the first one we're going to start with is none other than B. Arthur, right? So, B. Arthur is known for her on screen role as the Golden Girls. But she actually, folks, started her career as a member of the military in 1943 at age 21. She worked as a truck driver for the Marine Corps, a woman's reserve member, and a typist. Though her superiors described her as argumentative, she successfully completed assignments at Marine Corps and Navy air stations in Virginia and North Carolina and was promoted to staff sergeant over her 2-year military career. She was honorably discharged in 1945 and married a fellow Marine. So I know I have seen her on some interviews that she has talked about uh, her time in the military, and it served her well. And you can kind of see how she embraced that in her life, even on screen, in the way she carried her physical presence. Very posture perfect. I would like to say posture perfect. So she was, instrumental in helping. So the other one, this is awesome, is ready, Army General Anne E. Dunworthy, a general. Okay, that for women doesn't happen too often. So she was the first woman to serve as a 4-star general in the U.S. Armed Forces. She joined the Army in 1974 and served until 2012. She served in many roles, but her most impactful contribution was as commander of the Army Materiel Command, or AMC, one of the Army's largest commands, employing more than 69,000 employees across all 50 states and 145 countries. Her superiors noted that she executed the role with incredible efficiency and creativity. So, General Anne Dunwoody, we salute you for your contribution in the Army. Hi, Jim. Welcome back.
There
Can't
we
hear
go.
you.
It came
Now I
back and
can
it
hear you.
automatically, blinked me out again, and I don't know what's going on with this thing. AT&T.
Well, I was just talking about the women that we were, on the.
Yeah, we want to cover. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! So B. Arthur, she served for 2 years in the Marine Corps and ended up marrying a fellow Marine. And then the next one we talked about was General 4-star General Anne E. Dunwoody, and she served from 74 to 2012, and her employing more than 60. She was in command of more than 69,000 employees across all 50 states, Jim, and 145 countries.
Oh yeah, they've come a long way because back during World War, right before the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor in December of 1941, there was a legislation introduced back in May of 1941 to create the Women's Army Auxiliary Army Corps for the United States Army. And it did not pass until after the that they created the Women's Auxiliary Army. facility known as the Women's Army. And the women would be available to serve their country in a lot of non-combat areas to free up the men to be able to go into combat.
Right.
And, you know, sure, we had nurses, sure, we had clerks, sure, we had secretaries and all that. But I'll tell you one thing that they did was very, very valuable and very sophisticated. They were involved in handling documentation documents. They the classified documents for the military to make our decision. And they were from their background. Donna has a cat house. And anyway, Donna, it's I was one of, and I'll admit this, I was one of the old original sticks in the mud. When the Army decided they're going to do away with the Women's Army Corps, and a lot of women who served in the Women's Army Corps, they weren't for it because they were proud of their service, and rightfully so.
Absolutely.
Darn proud. They had earned their stripes. They had done. Yep. And I thought, well, in truth, it worked seamlessly. Had Lieutenant Command, privilege and honor of serving. And they were all brothers and sisters in uniform. That's the way it come down. The thing about it was that it ended wonderful track record and career of the Women's Army Corps that they had earned through hard work, sweat equity, and the respect they earned from their male counterparts.
Right.
Now I saw that. I was there 31 years. I saw a couple of things. That was one of them.
Well, you know, and it's been a long-standing controversial issue about women in combat.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, some say that, you know, we're not ready to see our mothers and daughters be injured or hurt or killed or maimed in combat. And then the other side of that coin is, well, what makes a woman's life more valuable than a man? And, you know, some of the controversy on that comes to my mind, Jim, is, yeah, okay, so, you know, we're all, we all get hurt, we're all going to bleed the same way. But women are okay to be a nurse or a doctor
Mm-hmm.
and take care of somebody who is hurt in, you know, in that type of situation, right? Where they're exposed, they've got to be cleaned and sutured up and operated on or what have you. So, you know, it's been a long-standing argument about that. And now, of course, we see women serving. And, you know, and I will say, some of it I understand is the strength. Most women, and it's something that's always irritated me to no end, Jim, is that we don't have the strength in our shoulders that you men have. You just naturally have more than we do. And it's frustrating, you know, because, I mean, I remember watching my son, you know, go from a boy to an adolescent literally over a summer and get muscles sitting on the couch watching TV on summer break.
Well,
you're like, what?
I tell people this. Solomon wrote in Proverbs that wisdom approved for a found lady and some big, you know, years because I tell you, I just, next week I'll be back. None of us that's been a message just in and out. And were you speaking mentally or? That's normal for me if I fade in and out. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. This internet thing has just been just goofy. I can't, not too much I can do about it.
It's been giving him a fit. So, let's go to number 3 and talk. I'll talk about Grace Murray, Grace Murray Hopper. So, in 1943, during World War II, Commodore Grace Murray Hopper joined the United States Naval Reserves. Later, she came to be known as Amazing Grace for good reason too. She was an incredible programmer, and her work is now legendary among computer scientists around the world. She founded the COBOL programming language and paved the way for computer science as we know it today. At her time of death in 1992, Hooper held honorary doctorates from over 30 universities, Jim.
Wow.
Right?
I've often heard of COBOL and Fortran. That was on computer. COBOL was, if I remember correctly, COBOL was Common Business Language. That was the acronym for it.
Yes, it's an acronym.
Fortran had something to do with numbers.
Right.
And I remember it never happened. I was going to go into the study of Fortran. And one of my buddies asked me, says, well, why are you going to go into Fortran? That's the COBOL. The alphabet. Fortran, have a chance to survive in 10 years. I'm sorry, this thing just breaking up. So we'll try. Honest, I'm personality show.
Oh, so you're going in and out a little bit, Jim, and I know, folks, he's actually working on getting a different carrier out there where he lives. He kind of lives out in the country, so it makes it a little difficult to get good coverage, and that's certainly understandable.
Yes, it does.
Yes, certainly understandable. So one of the next women that I want to talk about is Eileen Collins. So as a young girl, she loved watching airplanes take off and land with her father. Years later, she was one in the sky when she became an Air Force colonel and the first woman to command a space shuttle mission. Collins joined the Air Force in 1978 and served as a flight instructor until she was selected by NASA for the astronaut program. She led 4 successful shuttle missions before retiring in 2006. Holy moly. And Jim, my father was in the Air Force, as you know. Started out in the Army and switched over to the Air Force and was in for 45 years. And I'm sure he probably knew of her, but I have never heard of her. I have never heard of Eileen Collins.
We did research. It's amazing. We've covered in previous shows the women in leadership down through the passage of time, down through their names fell through the cracks in the heap. And they why, and I'll stop talking and start when I start fading in and out. But I'll tell you how that happened. From the beginning of time, you might say, whenever they would count how many people were in a crowd, they always, as a tendency, counted the men.
Right.
The men only. They did not count children. And that will be carried on what church down to the passage of time that either on into the recordings. A lot of women never they had the medicines, the technology, the things of this nature we got today if it wasn't for these ladies. No question about that.
Well, it's also kind of funny, Jim. Let's talk about this for a second. How there are still some that say women aren't tough. Women can't handle pain like a man. You got to be a man to handle some pain. Well, let me tell you. And every woman out there is probably laughing like hell right now. Go through childbirth, son. Go through childbirth.
I'm right.
I've had 3 children, natural childbirth, and they came quick. And I know there's a lot of people that say, "Oh, it must have been easy." Well, it's not because when our bodies are made for X amount. So I can honestly say yeah, that was extremely painful, and I did it natural. So absolutely, women are tough, and we, as a rule, can withstand more pain. At least that's my opinion, than men can, because we are geared that way. We are geared that way. For example, earlier I was talking about how, and it still frustrates me, probably always will, be honest with you, how we don't have the shoulder strength that men do. We just don't have it. Our strength is in our hips and legs, right? And, you think about it, where do we carry our babies, right? We carry our babies in our tummy off of our hips. And when they're little, we perch them on our hips and our legs. So we have a tremendous amount of strength, on the lower half of our body. Absolutely. So, okay, this next lady, let's just jump right in, shall we? I loved reading about her. She is a true hero, but there is so much more to Harriet Tubman than most of us know. Okay, this is amazing. So this is just although a household name came across America, that most people don't realize that after escaping slavery in 1849, and Harriet Tubman did a lot to help free slaves. Right. And so we know a lot about that because that's, been talked about a lot. But what a lot of things that we don't know is that she is also to be celebrated for her military service. So she organized a large scale espionage ring for the Union during the Civil War. Yes. She also served as a cook, as a nurse, and even a spy for the Union during the Civil War. And she is the first woman in American history to lead a military expedition. How about that, folks? That is our very own Harriet Tubman. So hats off to her. She was an absolute pioneer for women today. And we are so grateful that she, had the strength and the endurance and the wherewithal to do more to help mankind. So she paved the way so early before even the turn of the century, right, for military women going forward. And she did so much. Her hands were not idle, folks. They were absolutely not idle. So I know right now Jim is working hard trying to get back on the internet, and I know how frustrating that can be. It's just absolutely beyond frustrating at times. Uh, but with Women National Women's Month and celebrating women, I can honestly say we want to celebrate women not only in the armed forces, but women in general. Okay, so for everybody out there who is a woman, we celebrate you, and we are so glad you're here in this world. And also, what about the moms who stay at home and that's all they do? They don't have an outside job, and people say, oh, well, you don't work outside the home. Well, working inside the home is a tremendous amount of work and making it run smoothly. I've done both. I was a stay-at-home mom, and then I had to be, a mom and a provider for my children. And it's hard doing one, let alone both. So, hats off to every mom out there, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or whether you are a mom that works, full-time, part-time, it doesn't matter. Hats off to you. We are grateful and salute each and every one of us here today. So thank you for being you. So one of the next women I would like to talk about, pretty awesome, is Elsie S. Ott. So when Second Lieutenant Elsie S. Ott signed up to serve as a flight nurse in the U.S. Army Air Corps during World War II, she had no idea what she was in for. Ott ended up helping to pioneer military medical care practices during air evacuations of wounded personnel. The first time she performed this kind of procedure, she had no prior flying experience and was only given 24 hours notice. For this service, she later received the first U.S. Air Medal given to a woman in the U.S. Army. So can you imagine, folks, having 24 hours notice and never ever done that kind of procedure to pioneer medical care practices during air evacs, right? That is crazy. During World War II. I mean, wow. That took moxie, lots of moxie to do what she did, and to do it well and to do it with grace. And look what she's done for the women who went on to fly, right? So, for example, going back to Eileen Collins, right? So she helped pave the way for Eileen Collins in doing what she did, to become one in the sky and fly. I am, a lot of these women I have never heard of. And that is one thing that Jim and I talked about on so many of our programs, folks, is that when we look up information to bring these shows to you, we learn every single time, because there are so many things that are out there that we wouldn't know otherwise. So we are truly honored to be able to bring this show and learn, as well as talk about these subjects, but we learn as we go. So we so appreciate each and every one of you being there with us. These women, and there are more, there are so many more women out there who are do so much for our country. These are women of, a lot of them, of yesteryear. And this was only 8. We haven't got through the whole thing yet. But there's probably thousands of women out there that we could talk about. And obviously we wouldn't have time for that many people. I know that, Jim served in the United States Army, and he worked with a lot of women, has mad respect for the women he worked with, and has mad respect for women in general, right? In and outside of the service. So thank you for all you do, all you do. So this next one, number 7, is Sarah Emma Edmonds. Um, this is kind of interesting. So, a lot of us don't know about this, but she was, of course, was born a woman and still was. But she was determined to fight in the Union Army during the Civil War. So she disguised herself as a male soldier and went by the name Franklin Flint Thompson. She participated in several significant battles over the course of her military career. Later, she wrote a book about her experiences entitled Nurse and Spy in the Union Army and went on to marry and have children. She was awarded an honorable discharge and admittance to the Grand Army of the Republic as its only female member. So you guys think about that. She wanted to do her part so much that she disguised herself as a man. I'm gonna take a second here and look her up and see if I can't find just a skosh more information about her, because I find that absolutely fascinating. Let's see here. Here we go. Okay. Okay, here. Here, okay. Oh, all right. So she was born in 1841 in Brunswick, British North America. She died September 5th, 1898, at age 56 in La Porte, Texas. She's buried in the Glenwood Cemetery in Houston. Okay. She served in the Union Army. Years of service was 1861 to 1865. She was a private and a nurse. Unit was the 2nd Michigan Voluntary Infantry. Battle and War was the American Civil War. Awards was in 1897. She became the second woman admitted to the Grand Army of the Republic. In 1992, she was inducted into the Michigan Women's Hall of Fame. So this is kind of interesting. As So her early life, she was the youngest child and grew up with her sisters and brother, Thomas, at their family's farm in I can't even pronounce what lake, near Madagarvactic Lake, not far from the border of the U.S. state of Maine, where she was abused by her father, who wanted a boy to help with the crops on the farm. Thomas had fits, which was most likely to have been epilepsy. At age 15, she fled home to escape an arranged marriage and was aided by her mother, who also had married young. She changed her last name to Edmonds in order to hide from her father and started a millinery shop with a friend in Moncton, New Brunswick. Her father eventually found her, either by himself or through acquaintances, and Edmund fled again to escape him. She adopted the guise of Franklin Thompson to travel more easily. In addition, there are claims her father had made her dress as a boy growing up, which would make her familiar and comfortable in a male role. Thompson crossed the U.S. and worked for Hubert and Company, a successful Bible bookseller and publisher in Hartford, Connecticut, selling Bibles door to door. Her boss claimed that she was the best salesman he'd had in 30 years of business. Interesting. So she had married Linus H. Seeley, a mechanic, whom she had 3 children with. All 3 of their children died in their youth, leading the couple to adopt 2 sons. Edmonds claimed that Seeley was a childhood friend. However, this was not true. Um, Later in 1882, she began the process of clearing the charge of desertion from Thompson's record in order to receive a pension. She wrote to several members of her company asking uh, them to sign affidavits on her behalf. In 1884, Congress declared she was owed a pension of $12 a month. Thompson's charge of desertion was cleared by Congress in 1886, and she received a discharge certificate from the Adjutant General's office in 1887. Well, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So, our last one is Dr. Mary Edwards Walker. Mary Walker volunteered for the Union Army as a civilian nurse. However, she went on to become the first ever female U.S. Army surgeon after years of unpaid volunteer service. Her bravery led her into the heart of battle. She often crossed battle lines to treat the wounded. She was once even captured by Confederate troops and accused of being a spy. She was eventually released and went on to become an activist in women's rights. These incredible women veterans have paved the way for so many others who came after them. Endeavors exist to say thank you. If you are a veteran or a veteran family member, you might qualify for some of the veteran support services out there. So, check any of those programs because they're out there for all of us. Hi, Jim.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good.
I hope never my heart's close. I'm a close. I really do.
It's okay. We've covered so much on this show already, Jim. And although we usually go a little bit longer on our show, I think you know maybe we need to cut this one a little bit early.
Yeah, here and Donna, you can follow and run with this because once I get started. A place for young people, men and women, to start.
Right.
And I'll tell you why. They can take the ASVAB test, and that will automatically tell them what they have a natural ability and knack for.
Right.
And if they decide to go into the military, they will be trained in that specific MOS, military occupational specialty. And guess what? They won't have a GI or they'll build up their whatever room, even the training is all paid for. And if a young person out there that's what at least the aspect will go to their mind and say, hey, the next for this, I'm because I don't know. It's important, I think.
Right. Right. Well, we close to the end of the month, if you can believe that already, Jim. March is almost already gone.
Where'd you go?
It is exactly. It is, National Women's Month, and we want to celebrate
Yes, it is.
these, inspiring women from our past, and how much we appreciate each and every one of them paving the way for us coming forward. But also, like I said earlier, every woman out there, we appreciate you, value you, and salute you. So I think we're just going to close our show a little bit early today, Jim. And just thank everybody for always being with us and enjoying the show so much. And we appreciate having them here.
Folks, that you talk about
Well, I think Jim froze on us again, folks. So, thank you for being with us on Messages of Inspirational Stories. We hope you have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday. Bye, everybody.
Bless